Hi guys, my name is David Mendelson. I'm a member of the Melrose High School MAVES Student Action Board, along with all of these people up here in the front. February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month. So we have this assembly here to get you guys thinking about relationships, what makes them healthy, unhealthy, or abusive. 11% of Melrose High School students report experiencing abuse in a dating relationship. 11%. Guys can be victims too. We want to stress that. And not all guys are abusive. We see everyone here in the audience as a potential bystander, and we believe that it's everyone's responsibility to stop abuse.
Today's assembly is about a tragic case of teen dating violence. It may bring up strong feelings for you, so please know the guidance counselors are available if you want to talk. We are really honored to have with us today the mother and cousin of Yeardley Love. Yeardley was a beautiful young woman who was killed by her ex-boyfriend when she was just a few weeks away from graduating from the University of Virginia. They are here to share their personal story, what they have learned about relationship abuse since her death, and the foundation they have started in her honor. But first, we want you to learn a little bit about Yeardley and what type of person she was.
She was compassionate and fun and kind-hearted and smart and just had like a lot of things going for her.
Truly saw the world through sunshine-colored glasses, just everything in a positive light.
A year after her tragic death, it is the happy memories of Yeardley Love that friends and close family, like cousin Sharon Robinson, remember most of all.
When I think about her growing up, I think of her smiling, I think of her laughing.
A life with big dreams. Teacher and coach Aaron Gillen says Yeardley had one special goal growing up.
Ever since I've known Yeardley, she always wanted to play lacrosse at UVA.
I look back at pictures that I have of her in probably 6, 7, 8 years old wearing Virginia lacrosse shorts or t-shirts.
She was tenacious. She gave you her best all the time. As a coach, that's the greatest gift an athlete can give you.
After her death, an outpouring of love, people around the country reaching out.
And we got letters from so many people who were truly touched by her kindness and goodness. And so before too long, we decided we want to do something to honor her memory.
The One Love Foundation basically was established to, we sort of say, like, bring out the Yeardley in everyone. The point of the foundation is just to try and give positive experiences to adolescents.
It really means the world to all of us, and particularly to Sharon and to Lexi, to know that Yeardley did touch somebody's life.
And on the field, UVA pays the ultimate tribute. Coach Julie Myers and the women's lacrosse team retiring Yeardley's #1 jersey this spring.
And we still have her locker plate is still up. We all take a glance and very privately kind of think for a few minutes when we see it. She still has a way of making us reflect back, but making us feel good about reflecting.
Now, 1 year later, her teachers, coaches, friends, and family remember Yeardley and her legacy.
Her spirit of positivity and perseverance and silliness will live on because she made that big of an impact on all of us.
She was a friend. You know, she was a daughter, she was a sister, she was my cousin, and we all loved her for who she was.
Please welcome Yeardley's mom, Sharon Love.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us here today. My name is Sharon Love, and I'm here today because my daughter Yeardley was beaten to death by her ex-boyfriend just weeks before she was to graduate from the University of Virginia. Yeardley was a smart, athletic, beautiful, and extremely kind person. She had a knack for making people feel special. Her presence seemed to light up a room, and her smile put everyone at ease. Yeardley had a wonderful sense of humor and often made fun at her own expense. She began playing lacrosse when she was 5 and she loved it. All of her spare time was spent throwing a lacrosse ball against the garage door or chasing ground balls with her father in the backyard. After visiting Charlottesville, Virginia at the age of 9, she decided that that is where she would be going to college. Her bedroom was transformed into orange and navy. The dog wore a UVA collar. University of Virginia stickers were on all of our cars. And all of Yeardley's sports clothes were covered in UVA logos. That dream never faded, and she poured her heart and soul into making that dream come true. When Yeardley was in 8th grade, her father was diagnosed with cancer. For 3 years, we managed to stay optimistic and prayed for a miracle. It wasn't to be, and her father died 2 days after Christmas in 2003. Rather than let their father's death devastate them, Yeardley and her sister Lexi vowed to make their father proud, and they did. Yeardley was accepted into the class of 2010 at the University of Virginia and earned a position on the Division I women's lacrosse team. She loved UVA, she loved her lacrosse team, and she loved her sorority. Yeardley majored in political science and minored in Spanish. She worked hard with such a demanding schedule and still managed to consistently be on the honor roll. Life seemed to be almost perfect for Yeardley. The summer of her freshman year, Yeardley stayed in Charlottesville, took some classes, and worked with the girls' lacrosse camp. Her sophomore year, she took classes in Valencia, Spain, and lived with a Spanish family. Junior year, Yeardley went to New York and worked for the designer Tibby. She planned to return to New York after graduation, work for a year, and apply to law school. On May 3rd, 2010, 3 weeks before graduation, her ex-boyfriend kicked her door down while she slept and killed her. 2 policemen arrived at my house that morning and asked if I was Yeardley Love's mother. The rest is a blur. Everything ended that day in an arrogant fit of rage. All of the things Yeardley had worked so hard for would never come to fruition. The love, the laughter, and happiness she shared with family and friends was gone. In its place, a permanent feeling of sadness. I knew nothing about relationship violence. I was in total disbelief. For a brief period of time, when I saw Yeardley's friends walk into a room, I thought she would be right behind them. It was impossible to fathom that someone would intentionally harm Yeardley. I'd always worried that Yeardley may be injured in a lacrosse game, even worse, a car accident, but never in a million years this. I knew nothing about relationship violence, and I wondered why, with such alarming statistics, and then realized I know nothing because no one ever speaks about it. The topic remains taboo. I now know that 1 in 3 will be abused during their lifetime. I hope by telling Yeardley's story, the secrecy will end. I hope to inspire you to get involved and be proactive. I hope to impress on you that no one is immune from this abhorrent behavior. My goal is to protect each and every one of you by giving you tools to help you identify dangerous behavior and the strength to do something about it. Abusers have serious problems that require professional help. Caving into their demands will only fuel the fire. Get out. Don't let the abuser's problem become your problems too. Get help. Tell someone. Tell everyone. Thanks so much. I'd like to introduce my niece, Sharon Robinson. She is the one that was responsible for organizing the One Love Foundation and giving it its life.
Good afternoon. My name is Sharon Robinson, and I am Yeardley's cousin. Since that terrible morning of May 3rd, 2010, I have thought so many times about what could have been done to prevent this horrific loss. A terrible loss for all of us who knew and loved Yeardley, but also a loss for society as a whole, since she was such a fun-loving, smart, loyal, kind, and ambitious person. Knowing Yeardley and her outgoing, confident, happy demeanor, and not knowing very much about relationship violence, I just couldn't believe that something like this could happen to her. Yards was loved and respected by all who knew her, and it is still impossible for me to understand how anyone could ever hurt her intentionally with his own 2 hands. Sharon and I have learned so much over the past 2.5, now almost 3 years, about relationship violence. Excuse me, sorry about that. We have learned that it is much more common than we ever knew. 1 in 3 people are affected by relationship violence, and it affects both boys and girls. Nobody is immune to relationship violence. It happens across age groups and demographic groups, to athletes and artists, and even to Rihanna. Just think about that. A powerful figure in pop culture is abused by her boyfriend on the national stage and goes back to him. Let us all hope that Chris Brown has had serious counseling to deal with his abusive behavior. Do you know that Chris Brown was abused himself as a child? In fact, children who witness abuse in their homes or are victims of child abuse are much more likely to become abusers themselves. That is what we mean when we say that we need to break the cycle of violence in our society. Shortly after her death, her mom, Sharon, her sister Lexi, a few other friends and family members, and I came together to start the One Love Foundation in honor of Yeardley Reynolds Love. One Love's most recent initiative, Be One for Change, is to combat relationship violence by raising awareness with your age group, kids aged 16 to 24 who experience the highest rate of dating violence. One Love wants to start a discussion and shine a light on this issue, and we hope to encourage young students like you to talk about this, and if you see someone in an unhealthy relationship, to seek professional help. Now, fortunately, the chances are that this will not happen to you. Ideally, you will find somebody who respects you and understands how to have a healthy relationship. If you are in a healthy relationship, it is based on mutual respect and shared values. It feels good and makes you feel good about yourself. Now, many students who are not abusers or targets of abuse are bystanders to it. Bystanders play a critical role in reducing dating violence by becoming informed of the situation and learning how to help a friend in need. Bystanders don't necessarily need to be present to witness the abuse, they only need to know that it is happening. And dating violence is happening, everywhere, every day. We are all victims of this to a certain extent. If a sister, brother, mother, father, or friend is a victim, it hurts us all. And the statistics are staggering. According to a survey conducted by Teenage Research Unlimited with Liz Claiborne, of teens between the ages of 13 and 18, 1 in 3 teenagers report knowing a friend or peer who has been hit, punched, kicked, slapped, choked, or physically hurt by their partner. Nearly 1 in 5 teenage girls who have been in a relationship said a boyfriend had threatened violence or self-harm if presented with a breakup. More than 1 in 4 teenage girls in a relationship report enduring verbal abuse. And this is very important. If trapped in an abusive relationship, while 73% of people say that they would tell somebody, only 33% who have been in or known about an abusive relationship have actually told somebody. It's that split that we're trying to narrow, to have more people talk about this. How do you know if a friend or if you or a friend is in an unhealthy or abusive relationship? The truth is that many abusers and targets of the abuse do not realize that they're in a dangerous relationship. For so many reasons, people hide the abuse they see from themselves by rationalizing it, minimalizing it, or justifying it. Think through these questions as it relates to you and the people that you love. Are you afraid of your boyfriend or girlfriend? Do you sometimes feel like you have to walk on pins and needles to keep him or her from getting angry? Has your partner ever pulled your hair? Do you feel like you've done something wrong, but you just don't know what it is? You can't figure out what you did to make the person upset? Is your partner very good to you most of the time, sometimes downright wonderful, but every once in a while, very cruel or scary? The fact is that there is never any excuse for abusive behavior, and blame should only ever be placed on the abuser. There are no circumstances in which abuse is acceptable. Violence is a learned behavior that is shaped by observation, experience, culture, and family. Abusers actually can even believe that the abusive behavior is normal. One goal of the One Love Foundation is to put the focus on the perpetrator. Too often when we discuss this issue, we only focus on the target, but in fact, it is the abuser that is causing this epidemic. Who are these offenders? They are often very charismatic at first, and later become very controlling over the victim and use violence to maintain that control. Now consider these questions. Is your partner afraid of you sometimes? Are you jealous of your boyfriend or girlfriend? Do you need to know where your boyfriend or girlfriend is at all times, and with whom, and doing what? Do you text your partner at all hours of the day and night? Have you ever threatened your partner? Have you ever said or thought, if I can't have you, then nobody can? If you found yourself answering yes to any of the questions in either of the lists, even if you think there might be good reasons for those yes answers, we urge you to seek help. Sharon and I are here today because we want to take this issue out from under a rock and expose it for what it is, a rampant problem in our society. We can change this if only we can change our attitudes and realize that any amount of abuse is unacceptable. There are many professionals who can help somebody in need. If you are an abuser, a target, or a bystander, we ask that you do not watch and do nothing. Ignoring it only allows the perpetrator to win, and the cycle of violence continues or escalates. Now, significantly, we say professional help because a violent person is an unstable one, and even though you may think you can change the person yourself, it is almost impossible to do so alone. Finally, I just want to address a few myths that are out there about this issue. The first myth is that alcohol and drugs cause relationship violence. However, the fact is that relationship violence is a choice, and it's not caused by alcohol or drug use. Many abusers will make sure that they have alcohol or drugs on hand in order to use them as an excuse for their actions. Abusers will also claim their actions resulted because they could not have the alcohol or drugs. Another myth is that relationship violence is an anger control issue. But in fact, relationship violence has nothing to do with anger. Anger is a tool that abusers use to get what they want. Abusers are actually very much in control. We know this because they can stop when somebody knocks on the door, because they often direct punches or kicks to places on the body where the bruises are less likely to be seen, and because they wait until no witnesses are around until they begin the abuse. Another myth is that abusers have low self-esteem. In fact, abusers do not have low self-esteem. They believe they are entitled to have power and control over their partner. Abusers may pretend to have low self-esteem if it will make others believe that the violence is not their fault. Another myth is that most assaults are really just a couple of slaps, and they are really not that harmful. But the fact is that more than 30% of hospital emergency room visits admissions for women are for women who have been abused. Domestic violence is the single greatest cause of injury to women in the United States. Each year, there are 1,200 deaths resulting from relationship violence overall. That's over 3 a day and over 23 each week. Myth: dating violence happens only once or twice in a relationship. The fact is, violence is a cycle, and abusers usually escalate violent behaviors in frequency and intensity over time. Finally, the last myth is that what happens in a relationship has nothing to do with anyone else but the two of us. That's not true. The fact is that domestic violence is a crime. It is against the law for anyone to physically harm or harass another person. The person who killed Yeardley is currently serving a 23-year sentence in a Virginia state penitentiary. If you know of someone who may be in an unhealthy relationship, there are resources to help. One Love has teamed up with the Johns Hopkins School of Nursing to create a danger assessment mobile app. It is available on all iPhones, Android smartphones, and it is free and anonymous. The app provides potential victims and/or friends or families, other bystanders, with a series of questions to answer. At the end, you receive a score to gauge your danger level. If you have a high score, it provides you with information on how to get help. This was based on over 20 years of research that's been done at the Johns Hopkins School of Nursing. It's been our honor to speak with you today about relationship violence. We only wish that Yeardley would have known how dangerous her abuser could or would become. This is a serious and potentially fatal issue. Please take it seriously, and when in doubt, trust your instincts. Talk to anyone or everyone, and seek professional help. Right now, we're going to show the public service announcement that One Love created, and then we will have a few minutes for questions and answers.
My name is Sharon Love, and my daughter Yeardley was a student at the University of Virginia, a senior with weeks to go before she graduated, and she was murdered by another lacrosse player on the men's team in May 2010. I really didn't realize how widespread relationship violence was. Now, after delving into it, I realized 1 out of 3 girls will experience some type of relationship violence during their lifetime.
If you see somebody that is in a relationship that is abusive in any way, you shouldn't be afraid to speak up. Right now, it's not the social norm to do that, but our mission is to make it the social norm to do that.
The app is so important to us because it's a tangible item. It's not an idea, it's not a thought, it's not something you tell somebody to look for or try and avoid. It's real, and you can take an assessment on the app and use that assessment to know exactly what kind of danger you're in and to possibly get out of the situation in time before something horrible happens.
If it's your best friend, if it's your teammate, if it's your sorority sister or your fraternity brother, and you see someone emotionally, verbally, or physically abusing someone, it's okay to step in and stop them.
You never think that this could ever happen to anyone that you know. And so therefore, if it's not possible, you just don't address it.
Education, education, education is the most important thing right now. Getting the message out that abusive relationships and relationship violence are not okay.
Friends with who? Were you with him when I'm really frightened you have to hear me!
1 in 3 women are victims of relationship violence, and it's often ignored by those who could help but don't. The Love Foundation created a revolutionary app that makes it impossible to ignore relationship violence. Based on research undertaken at the Johns Hopkins University School of Nursing, this app helps victims, friends, and family make an assessment and determine the threat. It's anonymous, free, and can save lives.
Be one for change. Join One Love.
We at One Love implore you to take our public service announcement and share it with everyone you love. We encourage you to get involved and get others involved, because 1 in 3 in an abusive relationship is not acceptable. We will be one for change. Be one for change with us.
If anyone has any questions, I can't really see. The lights are too bright to see, but if someone could direct me any questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
In retrospect, were there any signs in Darlene's relationship with her boyfriend that you saw that seemed unhealthy or anything that you noticed?
There was one incident that happened to Yeardley. They were both at the same party, and her boyfriend held her down, and which I thought he had held her down this way, but he held her down this way, and that was the only thing. Apparently, since this has happened, I found that if a boyfriend choked someone, you're 50% more likely to be murdered by that person than other types of abuse. So I didn't, had I thought that she was in danger, I would have driven down, taken her home, and never let her go back there. It was so, we were oblivious to relationship violence, and that's why we're here today, to make everyone we can be aware of this type of violence and do something about it.
What are some reasons for relationship violence?
I think the main reason is they want to control the other person. And it's an insecurity on the abuser's part. And they use their power and aggression to control that person and never let them out of their sight, basically. And when Yeardley left George, it was, she wanted nothing to do with him. When he held her down, she had already broken up with him. And he knew it was over and he would never go out with her again, and it escalated to murder. So I don't know what is in every single abuser's head, but to me the common thread is control over the other person.
Sharon, thank you for coming here today. I'd like to know what role, if anything, did alcohol play in the murder of your daughter?
From what I understand, her abuser had been drinking all day. He woke up, went to a golf game, was drinking at the golf game, drank through the day, drank through the evening. But again, they're two different type issues. There were a lot of people that did the exact same thing that day. It was right before graduation. It was the father-son golf tournament, and granted, alcohol was involved, but I would never blame it on alcohol. There's a much more deep-rooted problem than the alcohol itself.
For how long were they going out?
They started dating in their sophomore year, and they dated through most of their junior year, and through senior year they really weren't together too much. They both were lacrosse players, and they have entirely different schedules. When the girls played lacrosse at home, the boys played lacrosse away. So, and they play lacrosse from September to June, so they didn't have a lot of time really even to be together when they were together. And they had stopped dating probably the beginning of their senior year, but they still had to run into each other because there were so many functions that involved the two teams.
Why did he only get 23 years?
Good question. That was what the jury decided was appropriate for what he did. So.
Did you ever talk to her about her relationship at all? Like, did you understand like how they were when they were together, or did she say anything that might have hinted to you that this would happen?
No, there wasn't any indication that that this would. If I even thought there was even the slightest possibility, I would have taken her out of college, and she could have finished up after he graduated. I don't think she even thought. I don't think she was afraid of him. I didn't think. Everyone seemed to think that no one thought he was capable of doing what he did. He had been to my house maybe 2 or 3 times, and he was basically a happy-go-lucky, almost too laid back, seemed maybe irresponsible, but I never saw a violent side to him at all. And apparently, in college, he had showed that violent side, and there was nothing ever done about it. He got a pass with all of his bad behavior there. So.
Did he follow her to college, or did they agree to go together?
No, they didn't know each other before college. They met their freshman year in a Spanish class, but they didn't date until their sophomore year. So they didn't know each other. I wish they had never met each other.
So if you're a bystander of an abusive relationship, or you may suspect someone of being involved in an abusive relationship, it may be difficult to actually figure out a way to approach the problem. What would be a suggestion to a bystander if they thought one of their friends might be in an abusive relationship to help solve the problem?
Well, I think initially you could download the app with the questions, and if you know answers to those questions because you've been around those people long enough to know what goes on in their relationship, the app will tell you just how much danger that person is in. Then I would encourage, tell your friends that you've taken this quiz and that you're alarmed by the results, and you feel like they should take this quiz too. If it's either side, it doesn't, the abuser is in jail for the better part of his life, and Yeardley's gone, and you don't want to, in hindsight, think, gosh, I had the opportunity to do something and I didn't. So it's not always going to be successful because, like Sharon Robinson said, Brianna's back with her abuser, but hopefully you did the best if you do the best you can, and hopefully they'll listen, and I hope you'll use Yeardley's situation as what's possible and what could happen to them.
Helped us put together a brief video with some people you may know defining what love is and what love isn't. Next week you'll have an opportunity to join in, so we want all of MHS to start thinking about the difference between a healthy and unhealthy relationship. So on February 15th we'll have a photo booth set up so you can sign up with Ms. Staples and you'll be able to participate and join in. by Mr. Parrillo, Mr. Gabriel, Alyssa Abbott, and Lilah Johnson.
Change if we just keep starting. Leave the darkness, light a fire for the silent and the broken hearted. Won't you stand up, stand up, stand up? Won't you stand up, you girls and boys? Won't you stand up, stand up, stand up? Won't you stand up and use your voice? There's a comfort, there's a healing high above the pain and sorrow. Change is coming, can you feel it? Calling us into a new tomorrow. Won't you stand up, stand up, stand up? Won't you stand up, you girls and boys? Won't you stand up, stand up, stand up? Won't you stand up and use your voice? When the walls fall all around you, when your hope has turned to dust, let the sound of love surround you. Be like a heart in each of the words. Won't you stand up, stand up, stand up? Won't you stand up, you girls and boys? Won't you stand up, stand up, stand up? Won't you stand up and use your voice? Won't you stand up, stand up, stand up? Won't you stand up, you girls and boys? Won't you stand up, stand up, stand up? Won't you stand up and use your voice?
Sharon.
We'd like to thank musicians, of course, Mr. D for putting that video together, the Safe Steps for Teen Task Force, the Student Action Board, Mowers Alliance Against Violence for putting together this great assembly. But most of all, we'd like to thank the family of Yeardley Love. We'll never forget her, and we'll stand up and speak out against violence in her memory and in her honor. Thank you all. You should now go to your E-Block class.